Hey everybody, how's it going? Today I'm going to be covering torrents. If you're not familiar with them, torrents can be used to download media. It has a lot of legal media that can be acquired, such as non-copyright material, operating systems. But torrents can also be used to acquire illegal copyright material, such as movies, TV series, music, and pirated software. So whenever you're running torrents, it's important that you have security features in place, because regardless of whether you're doing legal activity or illegal activity, your internet service provider will potentially flag that traffic, and it can just cause a bunch of headaches. Like, your internet service provider might throttle your connections or stop providing services altogether to you. I see a lot of videos of people showing how to use torrents. Problem is, they leave out a lot of security features that help prevent DNS leaking and other ways that your data slips out. I'm using qBittorrent. That's the one that I prefer. I'll show you the most secure way to ensure that you have privacy and security when using torrents. A couple things that I recommend if you're torrenting is good antivirus, a VPN, and I use TorGuard. My antivirus, I use Bitdefender. Links will be in the description. And so let's get started. So first you're going to want to navigate to qBittorrent.org. Links will be in the description. You want to click on the download. Again, this is 100% free. And I'm going to show the install and use, and I'm going to use my TorGuard because I said it's important to have a VPN. So I have Windows right now I'm on. You could do it for, Mac, Linux. I have the 64-bit system. I click on it. It automatically downloaded here after clicking on that link. I'm going to click Save File. So once it downloads, open the file, run it. English is my language. Next. And your version number might be different. You can read this agreement if you want. It just probably talks about not to use torrents for illegal purposes. And this you can probably just keep all as default. This all looks good. It's going to create a firewall rule because it needs to be able to get the files, and that's fine. That's just Windows on your local box. So you can keep all these at default. It's still secure doing it that way. Next, install qBittorrent. Install. Once you have everything installed, you will want to launch TorGuard. So you can type it down here at the bottom, TorGuard. Launch that, or whatever your VPN is. And mine's configured to auto connect here. I'm going to show you some tests that you can do. So now we're connected to TorGuard. It looks like we're in Chicago. And I do have a video on TorGuard and speed tests and stuff and how to install it. So now we'll launch qBittorrent. And when we're in here, the settings that we want to make sure are in place, you can just do these same settings. I'm not going to go through each and every single one of them, but I will point out certain things as I come across them that I think are important to note for your privacy and security. A lot of things that other videos don't talk about, and sometimes they miss them completely, putting you at risk. So a lot of these are left at default, but you can look at yours at the same time to make sure they're set up like this. So these, I don't think I made any changes here, but you can look at what I have it currently set at and make changes accordingly if you want. Now downloads, I think these are all mostly default. So now when I download media through qBittorrent, it'll go to this user Hacksmalls downloads torrents. I don't mess with any of that, but you could set that up so that you get an email when your download completes that it's not really necessary. I have this setting right here for the peer connection. Your port number might be different. That's fine. It doesn't. This number is not too concerning, so the default number that you have is probably fine. Now these connections, these I have all checked. Notice. Now this is your proxy server settings. If you're using TorGuard, you're going to want to set this to SOCKS 5. And the host is going to be proxy.torguard.org. Port is going to be 1085. You could also use 1080, I believe. Now, I have these checked here, and this one sometimes is not checked. I have this checked because I'm using a VPN on top of this anyway, so it's going to protect my data. So as far as searching, I've noticed if this isn't checked, it causes issues with the search engine with inside Qubit Torrent, which is a really nice feature. So I keep this checked, and like I said, I'm running a VPN on the side of this as well, which was that TorGuard. We'll get more into that here in a sec. Authentication, you want to use your username and password that you use to set up your VPN. So in my case, it was TorGuard. So it's my username and password from TorGuard. And right now, there's a video on TorGuard setting it up. I think it was $30 a year for TorGuard, which specializes in torrent traffic. And if those credentials do not work within TorGuard, if you log into TorGuard and click on VPN info, this username here and password are going to be what you use to log in, if it's different than what you use to set up your account. So just keep that in mind. Alright, so now let's get back here. So you enter that for username and password. Now speed, I pretty much leave this at default. This just means unlimited upload, download. I leave that all default. Now I have these selected. I don't have enable local peer discovery to find more peers because I don't have anybody sharing content on my local network. Yours probably is checked by default. For this, you want it to be on allow encryption. That helps protect your privacy and data. Torrenting, this is just how many maximum downloads and stuff. I think if this isn't selected, it doesn't matter how many torrents you have active. The more active torrents you have though, it's going to be usually the slower each one is. And then all the rest I think are still default. RSS, I don't use this, but if you had a feed, you could enable that and download stuff automatically as the RSS feed pushed out those torrent links. For the web UI, I do not have this selected. If you wanted to remote control the Qubit torrent, you could select this. However, if you do choose to do that, I recommend that you put on the HTTPS so that and then you'll have to apply a certificate. But without the HTTPS, your credentials are clear text. This really isn't needed. You can look into that more if you choose to later. And all these are just basically disabled because I don't have remote control enabled, so that's fine. Standard. Now advanced, you have to figure out what your network interface is for your VPN to make sure that you're routing all the traffic through your VPN. And a lot of people miss this, but it's an important step of your security and privacy. Go down to the bottom left, just click on the start or type search CMD IP config. Now this is telling us all our different network adapters currently. You can see whether it's connected or not. Like this one's disconnected. This one though, it's disconnected, disconnected. If it's not disconnected, you'll see numbers in there. So we have, I can tell by the data that I've blurred out here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these are connected. So I'm going to turn off my TorGuard. And now I'm going to run that command again, ipconfig. Top one now is no longer connected. This local area connection. And it's not 2, it's not 4, it's local area connection is now disconnected. Before it was connected, now it's disconnected. So I know local area connection 1 or local area connection is my VPN, because when I connect it, let it authenticate, let it complete authenticating over here. So it's connected. Now if I check it again, I have an IP address in there. So now it's connected. Now yours might be different. It might say local area connection 2 might change status when you disconnect and reconnect to your VPN. So now we know local area connection 1 for me, it might be different for you, is tied to my VPN. And I have it on local area connection. That's what I had it on. So here's my other ones. If I had it on here, it wouldn't be going through my TorGuard. So once that's set, you figured out your network interface. This can be normal. You don't need anything here. These settings are pretty much default, I believe. And now you're all set. You have the right network interface. We went through all the settings and options. We click apply or OK. Apply. They're all good. Saved. OK. All right, so now we have Qubit Tor running through TorGuard. Now we switch over to TorGuard. I'm going to disconnect and do the settings in here. Now click on more settings. This is an important feature that a lot of people fail to tell you about. You want to make sure you're on this app kill tab. These other tabs should be fine at default settings, but this app kill, you're going to want to add your torrent client here, whatever torrent software you're using or application, your torrent application here. And I use Qubit Torrent, so type in Qubit Torrent. To add it, you just type in, I'll remove it and show you. You're just going to type in qubittorrent.exe. and then add that. And now let's test kill this. Basically, this is a kill switch. So this kill switch is important because if your VPN goes down for some reason while you're torrenting, it's going to start leaking information that you're torrenting. And even like I said, if you're doing completely legal activity on torrents, it can raise questions and cause issues with your internet service provider. So I do not promote illegal activity, but regardless, like I said, if you're using torrents for legal purposes or illegal activity, you don't want to accidentally leak out sensitive information that'll give away your identity or your service provider information. So by having this kill switch, if you're torrenting and your VPN, you get disconnected to it for some reason, it's going to close automatically. You can test it too. Right here, just select what you've put on there and then hit test, and it should close down. Oops, I have one R in there. And that's why it's not working. That's why you test it. I had it spelt wrong. We'll add that, and that's exactly why you test it. Now I select it. When I test kill switch, it shuts it down automatically. We want to save this now. If I ever lose connection to my VPN, it'll shut down the torrent automatically. Let's restart this. Just an overview of where we're at so far. We've set up Qubit Torrent. We went through the settings and configured those to connect to a proxy. We set up our VPN. We made sure that our Qubit Torrent was going through the VPN via the right network connection. And we've configured this to have a kill switch in case our VPN ever gets disconnected, Qubit Torrent will. A lot of important stuff that people miss there. Now let's test it. Some people just tell you use a proxy and you're good. That's not the case. So now if we go to our TorGuard, we'll make sure everything's configured correctly. Log into your TorGuard if you're using TorGuard, which is what I recommend. So then at your home screen, go under this Tools, Torrent IP Test. We'll test that first. We click download now. This is a torrent actually here, and we're going to use our client here, Qubit Torrent client. Open link. This is going to say where it's going to save at. And now we click OK. This should be fine by default. We click OK. It should start downloading. It's not ever going to complete. This is just a test thing. So now if we go back to our site, it did detect it. It can't tell what user agent it is, so it appears to be working. This is the IP address. If somebody was trying to figure out who we are, this is the IP address that it would return. So this will be the IP that it gave us, and this says that we're Ontario, Canada. That is not where I'm actually located at, but that's where it's pointing to. That's where it's saying we're at. And you might wonder, well, the VPN was to Chicago. Why is it saying that you're in Canada? Okay, so that's the proxy. The proxy's randomly putting us somewhere in a different location than our actual location, and that's what hides your IP. The VPN is protecting other information like what could be gathered about our internet service provider. Most people stop at this IP, but then your internet service provider information is being leaked. We're good here. This is not where I live. This is not where I'm at right now. I am not in Canada. So that's set up correctly. Now let's do another test. And if you don't do these features the way that I showed you, if you fail to use a VPN, you'll see where your information is being leaked when you do these tests. This DNS leak. Now this DNS leak, look, it's a different IP. This should tie to Chicago. If you didn't have the VPN running, it would tie to your actual internet service provider, which is not good because then you'd still be tracked. Your information's still tracked. So this is the IP that we're hiding with our VPN. And as you can see, Illinois. That's Chicago, Illinois. This is where we're at. That's why we have the VPN. If we didn't have the VPN on, it would still give away our location and our internet service provider, what city we live in. You don't want that. So this is the correct way to torrent without raising suspicion, having issues with your internet service provider. And a lot of people fail to do this, and they fail to test. They think they're safe, but they're leaking DNS and everything else. My videos are going to show you the most secure way to protect your data. We got the WebRTC leak test. Same thing. This is the same IP, 104.50. That's your 104.50, so we're protected there. And the IP geocheck, 450, it shows I'm over here by Chicago. Illinois, Chicago. There's nothing that ties to me. DNS leak, WebRTC leak, nothing ties to me or the city I'm in or anything. It's not even in my location at all. That is how you securely set it up. That is how you test it to make sure everything's configured correctly. If you did not have your VPN running on the side, if you just ran the proxy, like most videos will show you, just run the proxy right here. If you just have this proxy running, you'll be leaking other information that gives away your details. And you can test it yourself. Just turn off your VPN and do those same tests without the VPN, and you'll end up finding out that you're leaking data about where you actually live. You do not want that. Next thing, qubit torrent. This is how you do your searches and why I have that one setting. Like I said, it's not too big of a deal if you have this checked, because we have a VPN running. So we're not worried about our search engine and stuff giving away information about us, because all of our information is being encrypted through that VPN. So the reason I have that checked though is without it, you can't do these searches, and the searches are nice. This is how you would download a torrent if you're not familiar with it. Here's your categories in qubit torrent. I just leave it on all categories, but if you wanted to get specific, you could, like if you're just searching for movies. Only enabled or all plugins is fine. This is how you want to update your plugins. Click on the search plugins down here at the bottom right. And you need to update these every once in a while just to make sure if you're not getting results, you want to update these. Just check for update. They're all up to date, and like I said, this is all free. In like uTorrent people use, you got to manually go out and find these or pay an extra fee in order to use plugins. Here it's all free. It's going to search these sites for torrents, so we don't have to search around the internet for them. These are all up to date. They're all enabled. Close this. Now I'm going to search Kali Linux, and let's just do this. This shows you your seeders. You need at least one seeder, otherwise you're probably not going to be able to complete the download. The more seeders you have, probably the better, because then you're more likely to connect to a seeder that has high speeds. And I'm running on Wi-Fi, so my downloads are going to be somewhat limited, but you double click on the torrent that you want to download. This is going to download the Kali Linux ISO, and if you didn't want to do a file, you could just leave that part unchecked. So this is just the ISO. This is the ISO, also including the SHA. But if you were doing a movie, it'd just show just a movie. And when I download a movie, it doesn't mean it's illegal. There are public domain movies out there that are not copywritten. So then you just click OK, make sure it's going to the folder you want. And you could have this, if you are using Plex and you want to have that media go directly in Plex, you could choose Plex. Like I could click on this, go to my media server, click on Plex, and I could say it's a TV show, I want it to go into TV. Or it's a movie, I want it to go into movie. Or it's movie 5.0 surround sound, I want it to go in there. You could do that, but I'm going to send it right to torrents. I click OK. It should start downloading here soon. I'm going to stop this one. And when you delete, see it's connecting to seeds right now. When you delete a file, this is the link to the torrent. You delete it when it's done downloading or if you don't want it anymore. And when you delete it, if you want the actual media that you downloaded deleted, you check this box. But if, say, you downloaded this software, I'm not going to want to check that box because I want it to be on my system. This check IP I'm not going to use anymore, so I'm going to delete the file from my hard drive as well. And you can see I got 5 megs it's downloading at, which is good. I'm on wireless. I'm using a wireless internet connection right now, and I'm hitting 5.5 megs a second. It's going to be 14 minutes, and I have a almost 3 gig file. This is why you want to hide your IP information. These people here, hopefully they're using some kind of protection. Otherwise, this is showing their actual location, who's downloading it, and that's why we do all the security settings that I showed you. That's how you download it, and when this is complete, it'll let me know. You'll see that here in a sec. Now, if you were searching for videos, you'll have to check with your local laws to find out what your copyright laws are. I don't promote illegally downloading copyright material, but if you have, say, the TV series Westworld, I'm gonna exit these. You can exit those searches. It's still gonna continue downloading. Search this Westworld, and here's all the Westworld seasons. And you can get more granular inside qubit torrent. I could say, so here's my main search, and here's to filter the search. Let's say I'm looking for season 01, which is season 1, episode 06, And this shows me all the ones available. And you can look at the description kinda and it'll tell you what it is. This is gonna be 720p. And I could just do Westworld, say I want 1080p. I could type in 1080p. And it's gonna show all the 1080ps. This is season 2, episode 8. So that's how you search for TV series. You would click on this and you can download it. But some areas, I believe they don't care if you download the digital version if you physically own the physical copy. But I'm not a lawyer or attorney, so you'll have to figure that out. I'm not going to download anything of this because I don't want to cause any headaches for myself. Regardless though, your ISP is not going to like to see the traffic, so that's why we use the security to hide our traffic so that we're not discriminated against. Torrents can be used for other things such as software. Say we needed Adobe After Effects, and you might go to a site where you buy a product and it has a option to torrent download it or zip download it directly through the browser. Usually that torrent's going to be faster. That's why people use torrents, and they use them for illegal purposes. But regardless, I don't want anybody to end up having headaches. This is the proper way to set it up. So let's let this finish. I'll show you what you do once it gets done downloading. Okay, so it's about done here, as you can see. Now once your torrent finishes, you're going to get a notice down here that it's completed, and then you want to look at your seating. So now I'm sharing it with other people, which is nice to help give back and help keep it alive. But when you're completely done, you right click on that, click on delete. This is just to delete the torrent link. You do not want to check this. If you check this, it's also going to delete the download that you just did. So leave that blank if you want to keep the file, but you do want to delete the link so you're no longer seeding. Alright, so we don't have anything on here now. Should be able to go into your folder where you saved it, and here's that downloads torrents folder, and here's Kali Linux. And you can see it downloaded the file. So now I could use this ISO to install Kali Linux, and I show that in another video, and you should be good to go. To close the application, you'll shut down Qubit Torrent, exit it. It still stays open in the tray down here though, so then just right click on it and click exit, and then you can disconnect from your VPN. And then close that. And that's all there is to it. Thanks for watching. Please check out my other videos for the Bitdefender virus scanner install, TorGuard install, and Plex Media Server if that's something that you're interested in, on how to stream your media to devices and set up your own media center, kind of like Netflix. Please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.